Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys joining me for today's video. Guys, today I want to have a talk about something that we all been through, or you will be through if you fish long enough, and that's when you have those days that you just feel like giving up. Can't figure anything out, you can't seem to get anything going, it's like nothing you try is working, and you just get frustrated and want to give up. And you know, we've all been there, and I've got some really good tips and advice. And I want to delve into this a little bit, per the channel being Advanced Bass Fishing, with some more advanced concepts on how to deal with this. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, just want to get a quick reminder. Here it is. It's the middle of November, and I just want to let you know that Tackle Warehouse has got that Black Friday sale extending through the whole month of November. So if you guys are looking for some gifts, for your, people in your life for Christmas, now's a good time to do it. Or if you want to stock up on tackle yourself, 20% off on about anything on the Tackle Warehouse website. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. If you guys use that link, it's a good way to support the channel. And also a quick reminder that I've started up my on the water lessons again. So anyone interested in booking an on the water lesson with me, just go to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, and just shoot me a private message for info on that. Appreciate it. Okay, this is something nobody's immune to. We all have those days where it just can't get it going, nothing works, and you just feel like giving up. So I've got some advice I want to give you guys with that, so you don't have those type of feelings or days out there. First of all, let's talk about I want to talk about two different topics. I want to talk about the mental side of it, and then I want to talk about the actual technique side to it, the approaches you can change. Because a lot of people that I have seen in the videos I do, when I start talking about the mental part of fishing, they just tune out. And they're tuning out of the most important thing. So as somebody that's watching an advanced bass fishing channel like this, I encourage you guys to listen to what I'm saying here, because I can assure you that it's a big thing. And all the top anglers in the world, guys, they understand this. They understand the mental attitude part of it. So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to get this mindset that any time you're on the water and you're not catching them, you're getting closer to catching them all the time. It's just a matter of time. So if you're having one of those days that nothing's working, you just have to constantly pump yourself up and say, yeah, I'm not catching them, but that means I'm trying different stuff and I'm getting closer and closer to catching them. That is a big thing. That empowers you on sort of the level that a lot of people can't really understand. And the next thing that you have to realize on that, it's like, realize that the fish are always biting. It's like there's never a day out there. One of the myths in fishing is that, oh, it's tough today, the fish just aren't biting for whatever reason. They're always biting and they're always reacting. They may not necessarily be actively feeding, but you can always catch fish, based upon the other instincts that cause them to bite a lure. They never turn off. They eat 365 days a year, or they chase bait, or they go after lures 365 days a year. So that is another thing that's going to empower you a little bit, if you're having one of those tough days. And finally with that, just realize that it is just a matter of elimination. You're going to catch fish. The only variable between catching fish and not catching fish is the time frame that it takes to locate those fish. Sometimes you get out there and you catch them right off the bat, and other times it takes days to figure them out. So try to maintain that positive attitude that the next cast you make or the next corner you turn around, they could be there. That's a big part of it. And another thing, guys, is realize some days it's just relative to the day, because some days it's just like, for whatever reason, the conditions or the place that you're fishing or fishing pressure or whatever, it's like the expectations that you have should be in line with where you're fishing at and what you're faced with. Because let's say, for example, if you're faced in you're on a heavily fished lake that's getting a lot of pressure and there's a lot of noise on the lake, just realize your expectations might need to be a little bit lower. What you consider a good day, your expectations can be lower. And if you're on another type of lake where doesn't get much fishing pressure and there's nobody there, your expectations are obviously going to be higher. So manage your expectations. Now, let's talk about techniques and some practical things that you can do if you just feel like you're ready to give up. First of all, when you're trying to locate and you're trying to catch bass, there's two primary things that you're going to have to address before you give up or without giving up. Number one is the location that you're fishing, and number two is the technique that you're fishing. And sometimes those intertwine. Sometimes it requires an area and a technique change. Sometimes it requires only an area change. Sometimes it requires only a technique change. Sometimes you may be in the best water, but you're not using the right technique or the approach. The other time you may be using the right technique and the approach for that particular day, but you're not in the right water for it. So that's what you have to determine. If you're having one of those days when you feel like you're ready to give up, just realize that the puzzle is solved with one of those elements involved with it, area, technique, or a combination of the both. So how you do this is say it's noon and you're just not catching them, and you say, this isn't working, I'm wasting my time, I just need to get home, I got to mow the grass or whatever, I'm not catching any fish. The first thing that you can do with that is change up your technique and change up your baits you're using. Now, there's a lot of different variables with that. You can change up color of your bait, you can change up the profile of your bait, you can change up the lure category that you're fishing, you can change up, go to, say for example, if you're using a crankbait, you can change and go to a slow bait like a jig, or if you're using a black and blue jig, you can try a green pumpkin, or if you're using whatever, you can change your lure. And a lot of times that's all it is to it. It's a slight lure change based upon things like your water clarity and your sunlight intensity and all that. Okay, that's one thing. The next thing, it could be a retrieve issue. Say you're using just sort of a medium retrieve. They may want a medium stop and go retrieve, or they may want a slower retrieve, or they may want a faster retrieve. So before you give up, try those two things. Try switching lures and try switching your retrieve ratios. A lot of times that will do it, just that alone right there. Another thing in correlation with that is change up your casting angles. Say for example, if you have been catching fish a week before you got there on a main lake point by getting your boat in 20 foot of water and casting into the bank on the point, try putting your boat in shallow water and casting out to deep water, or try casting across the point. Mix up your angles. And so once you change your angles of your retrieve, the speed of your retrieve, the cadence, and your lure colors or profiles or categories, once you experiment with a little bit with that, sometimes any one of those are going to turn your day around, and it's going to seem like you just, it was the easiest thing in the world, but you just had to go through that process of elimination. Now, in correlation with that, sometimes it's a matter of an area change. Now, say you're out there again, it's noon, you're not catching anything, and you're ready to give up, and maybe you've exhausted what I just talked about. You tried different lures, you tried different colors, and you just can't catch anything. At that point, maybe it's an area change. Instead of like, if you were fishing points, run to the back of a cove and try fishing shallow in the back of a cove. If you're fishing, gravel banks, go to a bluff bank. Try the opposite of what you've been doing. Try different water depths, try different areas of the lake that have different water clarity to it. In most lakes, you have either main lake, you have coves, you have creeks, you have different positions within those coves and creeks, and just try something different for like maybe 15 minutes. Hit the back end of a cove, hit the back end of 2 or 3 coves. If that doesn't work, go over and hit that row of boat docks over there. If that doesn't work, go fish a couple points. If that doesn't work, go over and hit that lily pad field over there. Just keep moving and keep hunting bass until you catch that all-important first fish. And sometimes, it requires a completely different lure change. For example, say you were fishing a crankbait on rocky banks, up in a creek arm. Nothing's working like that. Then you go completely to the other end of the lake, and you go into a creek arm again, and now you've got, your water visibility is 3 feet cleaner, and you can see your crankbait way too easy in the water. At that point, pick up something like a Ned rig or a shaky head. So sometimes it takes a combination of an area change and a technique change. But you should never feel like you're ready to give up simply because you can't figure it out. The process of figuring bass out is experimentation. And one of the things that ought to give you a lot of peace and a lot of confidence in your own self as catching fish is that everybody has creativity and imagination levels uniquely that their own. If you and I go out fishing and we're both fishing the same bank, you're going to have a concept or an idea of what you think might work there. You may want to use a blackback chartreuse crankbait, and if I was there, I might want to use a shad pattern. At any given day, one of us are going to be right, one of us are going to be wrong. Some days they just want a certain color, some days they want a certain lure, and the only way you can figure that out is through experimentation, because the fish don't read magazines or watch YouTube videos. They are odd creatures, and sometimes they defy the norms, they defy logic. So my rule of thumb, if you're having those days, you're just ready to call it quits, just experiment, try something different, try something creative. Use the approach that I talked about there, and more than not, you're going to figure them out eventually. It's just a matter of time. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. I hope you're well. We'll talk later.